Hey guys, welcome back to Learn Web API in 7 days course. In this lecture, we are going to cover the following things. So we will be creating a ASP.NET Web API application, and then we will be creating a Microsoft Entity Framework project, wherein we are going to create an EDMX file which will be mapped to employee table in SQL Server database. And before that, we will define that table in database also. And then we will be creating a business layer project wherein we will be putting in classes which will access the database objects using entity framework and EDMX file. And then we are going to call the business layer from the API controller, and we'll be getting data in business layer from the EDMX. And then we will do all the CRUD operations on employee table. So let's start. I have Visual Studio here, and so what I did here was I defined employee table in SQL Server database. You can see here, this is my DB connection, and I have this employee table here. So it is a simple table wherein I have employee ID, which is in integer, and then employee name and the salary of the employee. Now using this database from my SQL Server, I have defined a data access object project here, wherein I have this EDMX file. This EDMX file is having this employee table down here, which is being pulled out from this SQL Server database, and everything is defined here. Now I will tell you how you can create an employee table. So for that, what you have to do is add a new item, and then select this EDO entity model, and then you can give it a name, say my EDMX, and then just say add. It will ask you to create this EDMX file from database. You can move forward and try to give all the information you want, and then you can use which entity framework you want to use, and then it will create a EDMX file for you, and then you can simply keep on using it. So this is how you can create an EDMX file. Now I already have this, but once you create this EDMX file, it will pull up this employee table from database here. And then one more thing you have to do is you have to do a transform T4 template transform. So you can simply click on this, and then it will actually what it do, it takes all the DB information into these EDMX objects. So you can see here it's updated, everything is being pulled out here. So we have this DB connectivity here, and our model is defined here. We are using entity framework version 5, which is again defined in the configuration file. And then now what we have to do is, as I told you, I have created a business layer project also, wherein I have this interface called employee BL, and in this interface I have these methods. First one is where I get the list of employees, and then employee ID, and then update employee, add employee, and then delete employee. And all these methods are implemented down here. You can see here I have done this implementation. So what we have to do is we have to get a DB context for all the all the entities which are defined in our data model object. So you can see here I have just one table, and this is defined here, and this table is basically directly mapped to our database table. Okay, and then what we will do, we will go to our API controller, and from API controller we will try to call these methods here in the business layer project. So I'll keep on using these methods from the API controllers. So let's go to API controller now. So this is our API controller. So this is my first method, wherein I have to use this ID and get only one employee at a time. So I'll say I employee BL dot get employee by ID, and I will pass this ID which I'm getting to the method, and it should return me. Now I have to say return this employee. So this method should be all good now. And then we have another method wherein we are not passing any ID because we want all the employees to be listed out. So this method here, it's called employee list, and this method will return me all the employees. Now I have other methods also, wherein like adding a new employee, update that employee, and deleting that employee. But let's run this API project and see the employee lists being pulled up, and we will debug and we will step into it and we'll see step by step how the code is getting executed. That will help you guys to understand how to use entity framework with ASP.NET Web API. So it's loading. The AS is loaded. Now let me so there are two methods which we can first use, get and get employee list. So let's first use get employee list. So as I told you earlier, that if we do not overload these methods by providing a parameter, then these methods are considered same. So this is our default method, get without any parameters. So we will hit this method first, this one, and I should get the list of employees from database. So this is the list of employees which I am getting from the database. Now I'm going to open another tab and get this value, and now this time I'm going to pass the ID equal to 1. Let's see what it is. So it is giving the same employee because we have only one employee in the database as of now. Now what I am going to do here is we need to add employees into the table, DB table, before we can get all those employees. So let's just stop the application and enable this code which will actually add employees. So this will add another employee, say with the code 2, and its name will be XYZ, and with the salary of say 6,500. And then I'll also have the update method enabled in here, wherein I will provide the employee name as XYZ, and we'll update the salary as 2500. So these are my add and update method which we will be calling shortly, and then we will use the delete method also in here. Okay, now in order to call these post and put methods, we need application or some kind of a tool. So browser, directly from browser we cannot send call to these methods. So I have this tool called Postman here. So Postman is actually a RESTful API testing tool. You can see here if the service is running, let me run the service, then it will hit the providing the URI of the service here. And then the service is running. Let the IS Express come here. Service is running now, and let me hit the postmaster. So what this tool Postman do, it actually call that API code here and give us all the information. Now using this tool we can do these kind of operations on the API controllers. We can do get, we can do post, we can do put, we can do delete, and all these kind of things. Now let me see if it is running. Yeah, it's running now. And in Postmaster, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this guy that this is my controller and I need to do a post. Post for me means I want to add an employee here. Okay, and when it is saying that I need to add the employee, so it will ask me for parameters. But what I'm doing here, I'm actually creating this employee object in here itself rather than taking it from the Postman. So the Postman should send a hit here now. I'll say send. Now the hit is come here, and since I'm not getting any data from Postman because I'm not passing it from there, now let's step into it. And so here we go. So we got this employee object in here with employee ID 2, name XYG, and salary this one. Now this is link you code which is actually running on entity framework. So it's adding the employee here. I'm saving the changes. The changes are saved. The execution is completed. So the Postman has done no content is returned, but the request was successful. Now let us do a get and see whether a record is created or not. So now we have two records. So this record we already have in the database, and this one we just now added. So now we have two records. Now out of these two records, I can just try to pull this one also by just passing ID as 2. So this is the new employee which we created in the database, and then let's see whether this get pulled up or not. Yeah, we got this new ID, new employee which we just created. Now let's create let's update this employee. So to update we just need to have we need to select put method here and provide the URI, and in URI what we are expecting, let us see. So in here if you see this, we are not expecting here anything. We are just passing these values from here, and now when this put method will be called from this tool, the control should come over here, and I need not to pass anything here, so I should be good with this. Now let's say send. See, now input, the put is being called, and let's step into it, and we go in here, and now what it is trying to do, it is trying to get that employee which is getting updated. So this is the employee which we want to be updated, and this is how we want it to be updated. So the employee with ID 1 will have these attributes now after the update, and we will see it after getting it updated. Okay, so the call was successful. Now let's do a get with the employee ID. What was the employee ID 1? Now we will put this in, pull this employee from database. Now you can see here this employee information is updated. So this is how we used API get employee list, post, and put method. Now there is one more called delete. Let's try that one also. Now, in order to delete a record, we have to provide the ID of the employee which need to be deleted. So we need to pass this ID from the tool. Okay, and then this employee should be deleted. So I will be calling this delete method from the tool now. Let's select here delete, and then I'm saying that on the values controller I want employee to be deleted which is having ID 1. Now let's just send this call. Okay, so since the app is not running, so it's not finding this URL connecting because the app is not running. So I'm on the app now. Yeah, it's available now, and let's hit the delete method. It's going there. It should come here in some time. Yeah, it's come here. The delete method is hit. Now let's step into, and so this is how it is going to delete this employee. Okay, now the employee delete function is completely called. Let's go to this tool and get all the employees from the list and see how many employees are there. See, the employee with ID 1 is deleted from database. So this is how we actually use API for do all these CRUD operations. So this was you can say a simple version of having CRUD operations, because what I was doing, I was kind of, although I was getting calls to different API methods, like I got a call for get with ID, get without ID, post where I added an employee, and then put where I updated the employee, and also delete. But we were internally passing the data to the data store. Now in one of our next lectures, we will be using an application, maybe a web application, to do all these kind of operations, and then we will be passing this data to the API control calls. So this is how CRUD operations can be done using ASP.NET Web API. Now behind ASP.NET Web API, if you see this, we have this employee model, and which is being passed from API controller to business object, and from business object to API controller. And then we have this data access object, which is using entity framework to connect to SQL Server database, which is pulling data from and to SQL Server. And then we have this employee business layer class, wherein we have defined all these methods which are interacting with the entity framework project. So this is how basically you can do all the possible operations using ASP.NET Web API. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in next lecture.